and let us all do we can to build a better future. Biden and the Democrats and the Republicans, well, they made a little deal. And the progressives in Washington, D.C. are just so fuming mad. They are angry. They are furious. From Pramila Jayapal to Ayanna Pressley, to even row your boat, row Khanna. Here, check it out. Look, they're so furious and angry. They're so furious and angry and so upset. Gosh darn it, they're so angry. Here are the progressives who voted against the GOP's debt ceiling extortion scheme. Nearly 40 members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus broke with the majority of their House Democratic colleagues late Wednesday to vote against the debt ceiling agreement negotiated by President Joe Biden and Republican leaders. The legislation, which would lift the debt ceiling until January of 2025 and enact painful caps on non-military federal spending, passed the GOP-controlled House by a vote of 314 to 117, with 165 Democrats joining 149 Republicans in supporting the measure. The bill's passage came after weeks of talks between the White House, which repeatedly said it would not negotiate over the debt ceiling, and Republicans who manufactured the standoff to pursue austerity for low-income Americans, gifts for rich tax cheats, and handouts to the fossil fuel industry. No surprise here, everyone. While Republicans didn't get anything close to what they called for in the legislation they passed in late April, progressives who voted against the bill on Wednesday said the final agreement will harm vulnerable people and the planet by imposing new work requirements on aid recipients and approving the Mountain Valley Pipeline, a top priority of fossil fuel industry ally Senator Joe Manchin. Progressives also raised alarm over a provision that would codify the end of the student loan payment pause, setting the stage for disaster if the U.S. Supreme Court strikes down the Biden administration's debt cancellation plan. So, oh my goodness, look at how angry. Again, we got the atypical squad members. You know, we got Katie Porter, we got Pramila Jayapal, we got Cori Bush, AOC, Barbara Lee, Jamal Bowman, Ro Khanna, Ayanna Pressley, all of them. But seriously, at this point, Democratic lawmakers, you do realize that Biden's never going to go to bat for you. And even if you're a progressive, quote unquote, progressive Democratic lawmaker, you really think you have a seat at the table? Here, we're just going to do a little bit of some time traveling about sometime around May 24th of 2023. So we're not going to go too far back in time, because I want to pull up this little interesting thing here. But before we go back in time on May 24th, this happened yesterday. From Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, the pause on student loan payments has been life-changing for families across the country. My amendment would strike the provisions from the McCarthy debt ceiling bill that forced payments to resume on September 1st. Oh, and look at that. Isn't this a nice little thing here? But I could have swore there was an individual who asked a question, who was recently on our show. Shout out to Indie News Network commentator and contributor, Colin Radix Carter. Guess you were so bothered by what I asked you that you decided to act on the 11th hour. What was that question that he asked? Again, 15 seconds in, he asks a question, yes or no, and he gets a word salad. Here, listen again, one last time.
Congressman, didn't you give a memo to Biden with Senator Wong regarding student debt to tell him to use the Higher Education Act?
Let me just say this, because I want to get in trouble if I start taking questions from the floor, okay? But I want to say on student debt and where that fight stands right now, it is in the Supreme Court. By the way, expand the courts.
She don't want to get in trouble with Hakeem Jeffries, but also, eat up this delicious word salad.
Expand the courts. And it's not that radical, y'all. It's precedent. It's been done 6 times before. It's far right. It's extremist. It's imbalanced. And they are causing great harm. That is where the student debt issue is right now. But that being said, we're all organizers, and no organizer goes into a fight without a contingency plan. We have them, but I'm not ready to see defeat here because the legal case is sound. So, stay tuned on that, because we know that was a motivating issue in the midterms for many. This is a transformational, consequential issue, and we're not giving up this fight. So in the fact that we made it this far, first they said the president didn't have the authority. Then they said it would be regressive in impact and only benefit white graduate students who went to affluent schools. And we have challenged and proven all of that wrong. This is a huge coalition of impacted borrowers, civil rights organizations, union workers, presidents, tradesmen and women. But my point is the progress that has been made is because of the movement.
The movement. Probably a bowel movement. But again, this is the load of crap that the Democrats are trying to feed the American people. And again, Colin, your question wasn't answered, buddy. This is a word salad here, folks. And we're almost done, but she's not giving, she's not done yet spewing out her word salad.
So I'll just close by saying this. It is progress. And listen, 40 plus 60 million people have already benefited from this relief. Provided the Supreme Court follows the letter of the law, 1 in 4 Black borrowers will have their debt zeroed out completely. This is 40 plus million people that stand to benefit. Do we want more? Do we fight for more? Yes. But Pell Grants are our most burdened recipients. And the fact that $20,000 worth of debt will be canceled for Pell Grant recipients and $10,000 for non-Pell Grant recipients, that is progress. The legal case is sound. The president has the authority. So let's see what the Supreme Court does.
And of course, at the 11th hour, what does she do? Uh-oh. She has to quickly act, or otherwise she'll be making a whole big ass out of herself. Simple as that.
But my point here is, as much as I want government to lead, more often than not, government does not lead, but it does respond to pressure.
The response to pressure.
We have to keep it up. So I thank you all for recognizing that movements and revolutions require resources. So we thank you for your investment, and we thank you for your solidarity in this movement. The squad is big, y'all.
Now, again, the squad is big, y'all. That's what she said, right? Now, again, that whole word salad was presented to you guys and gals. But listen again, first 10 seconds in.
Congressman, didn't you give a memo to Biden with Senator Wong regarding student debt to tell him to use the Higher Education Act?
Let me just...
Again, 10 seconds in. 10 seconds. Good friend of the show, Colin Radix Carter, asked that question. 10 seconds in. The rest of this 2-minute, 48-second answer is Ayanna Pressley giving a word salad. She didn't answer the question. Okay? Didn't answer the question. And on the 11th hour, only then, and only then, that she does this. The pause in student loan payments has been life-changing for families across the country. My amendment would strike the provisions from the McCarthy debt ceiling bill that forced payments to resume on September 1st. Now, I don't know. Do Democrats have what it takes to fight? I don't know. Let's listen to the words of an individual. We know him. Goes by the name of Row Your Boat, Khanna. It's starting to look like Khanna and U.S. progressives should have had an item ready to add to this debt ceiling bill. Joe Manchin is getting his pet project. Maybe ending the cap on Social Security tax. That would have brought in more revenue. So it's hard for the GOP to fight against it. But see, the thing is, when asked to fight, what does Khanna do? Remember, this is a video that was posted on KStudyQB's Twitter account and on the 1st of May of 2023. We're not going to raise it, unless you give us Medicare for all, we're not going to raise the debt ceiling. Of course we won't do that because we're responsible. He won't fight.
Nancy Pelosi had done that. What if we had said, unless you give us Medicare for all, unless you give us Green New Deal, President Trump, we're not going to raise the debt ceiling. Of course we don't do that because we're responsible, because we believe in compromise when it comes to the functioning of the government. They're acting irresponsible.
And a lot of your base probably would like it if y'all had done that. I mean,
again, oh, what a burn by BSDNC. But wait, folks, it gets a little worse. Because here's a full interview of Khanna again, discussing the debt ceiling bill. it's interesting to see again. Will the Democrats, the progressive Democrats, fight? I think the real answer is no, they won't. Ayanna Pressley says she cares about this issue. I wonder if she'll have follow through. But saying, Pramila Jayapal be an absolute failure of a leader for the CPC, the Congressional Progressive Caucus, and also seeing Khanna himself saying that he's not going to crash the world economy if we don't have Medicare for all. I have a hard time believing that Ayanna Pressley or anyone else in the squad are actually going to fight for people struggling with student debt. Here, let's play this video. You hear from Khanna's own mouth. Again, shout to Case Study QB. He is wrongly being censored.
Khanna of California. He's a member of the Congressional Progressive Caucus and has expressed serious reservations about the debt ceiling bill. So, Congressman, what are they?
If I could just say, as a graduate of University of Chicago and Yale, son of...
Oh, God. He's from my... That means he lived in my city for some time. I'm sorry, people of the free world. I'm sorry, my fellow Americans.
There you
Indian
go.
immigrants who told you to work hard and took out a lot of loans. It's really, I think Joe's point is right. Look, let's celebrate education in this country. Don't be dishonest about your past. The problem isn't with DeSantis or others having gone to Harvard. The problem is that they're disparaging the institutions that gave them the opportunity, and it's the phoniness that people hate. Onto the debt ceiling, though. Look,
now, here's the thing. Khanna likes to talk. And, of course, he's going to have the sycophant, Mika from BSDNC agree with him. Yep. So, he's got an easy interview because he couldn't get away with any of this on the Jimmy Dore show or on Sabby Sab's show.
I think the Republicans took this president hostage. This president did the absolute best he could under the circumstance. The deal could have been much worse. But there are many Democrats who do not want to reward the Republicans running roughshod over the Constitution. Hakeem Jeffries has said that we will provide enough votes so that the deal passes and it does not default. But some of us are going to vote no on principle. We don't believe that you should be taking away food assistance from the most vulnerable when we have an affordability crisis, that you should be hurting people who are student loan borrowers. And we know that there are options, as Larry Summers has.
But the Democrats are never going to follow through, and Biden and the Republicans got what they wanted. Khanna, you and the Democrats, the House progressives, could have put in your own little pet projects if you wanted to, but you didn't because you were following orders from Hakeem Jeffries.
Has said, Paul Krugman has said, where the president can pay the debts that Congress has authorized him to pay, and that this should never happen again.
Yeah, so Congressman, so you've said that the president did the best he could do under the circumstances. I've heard some people come over here and say he should have never negotiated. That wasn't really an option because, well, unfortunately, Democrats in New York State and in other states don't know how to redistrict in a way that passes constitutional muster. And so Democrats lost the House. So our very system requires these negotiations.
Morning Joe giving a slight burn to Khanna. But again, seriously, Democrats, do you even know how to do your jobs anymore? At this point, maybe they kind of secretly get off at getting smacked around. I don't know. Just the way they handle themselves, the way they lose on purpose. They know what they're doing, but maybe they secretly just get off on it.
So, again, I just want to circle back and have you underline that fact again. Joe Biden had no choice. He had to negotiate. And this is, you say, the best deal he could have gotten. Why do you say that?
Well, look, the deal is much better than 10 years ago. It could have been much worse. It could have been 10 years of spending freezes. It was only 2 years. He managed to get some of the veterans, homelessness, some of the food assistance. That was something that he negotiated. And he held back against drastic cuts. Now, I believe that there are options, especially in the future, as the president has said, where we shouldn't have this debt ceiling. We shouldn't have Republicans holding the country hostage. But the blame should not be on Joe Biden. The blame.
Hey, who should be put the blame? A type one if you think it should just be Joe Biden. Type 2 if you think it should be the Republicans. Type 3 if you think it's the Democrats. A type 4 for all of the above. And I think you know the correct answer. The answer is 4. It's all of the above. Everyone's responsible. And of course, add in corporate media there too, because they're responsible for hyping this all up too.
Needs to be on the Republicans in Congress who are using an instrument that's riding roughshod over the Constitution. Look, if you want to cut spending and you want to raise defense spending, go win elections to do that and go through the regular process to do that. And if the American people believe in you, they'll elect you with those majorities. Don't say, I want my particular policy or others, otherwise I'm going to crash the world economy.
So in other words, see that? See that he just said the quiet part loud. He's not going to crash the world economy. He's not going to fight for any issues. And of course, he could have the House progressives could have added in whatever they wanted for their little pet projects. I mean, we see Republican lawmakers do it all the time, and conservative Democrats do it all the time. We just don't see the House progressives do so. So to anyone who says that, oh, AOC is going to bring in communism to America, no, that ain't happening. AOC doesn't know how to fight. Khanna doesn't know how to fight. None of them know how to fight. They're jabronis. They're the lackluster people that you see in those wrestling shows back in the day, back on WWF or ECW or WCW. The no-name people who were smacked around. Yeah, that's the truth of it.
I mean, progressives never do that. I'm for Medicare for all. I don't say I'm going to crash the world economy if you don't have Medicare for all. It's just not the way we govern in America.
Congressman, this is Jen Psaki. I wanted to ask you just about the Republican side here. You said you and a number of others will vote against this on principle. It seems like there are a number of Republicans who have been outspoken already about voting against this. What do you think Kevin McCarthy's future is here? I'm asking you, I guess, to put on your political hat here a little bit. Will he still be Speaker in a week or two?
Well, look, I think that they're going to get the 150 votes from Republicans. My sense is Kevin McCarthy will survive, but who knows? I mean, it would be not in the Republicans' interest to kick Kevin McCarthy out and have even more chaos on their caucus. I don't think they have anyone else who they would unify behind, but it's a caucus that's unpredictable. And when you've made so many concessions to people on the extreme wings.
Listen to that. Again, I'm not a fan of the Freedom Caucus, but I am impressed in their ability to force the vote and get what they want. You know, Khanna, you and the quote-unquote House progressives could have forced a vote in 2021 and got what you wanted from Nancy. But you're not going to fight Nancy. Never are. You lost that opportunity, and you're sure as hell not going to raise the ruckus on Hakeem Jeffries. I know none of you are ever going to do that. Come on.
I don't think it's a sure thing that McCarthy will survive. I put the odds of him surviving, but I wouldn't underestimate the threats.
All right, Democratic Congressman Khanna of California, thank you very much. We'll be watching.
So let's have democracy in the chat. You think the House progressives will ever be able to fight and be consistent? Type 5, like, yeah, Kit, they're keeping their powder dry. Just you wait. And they're really going to deliver on all their promises. Student debt forgiveness, Medicare for all, housing for all, universal basic income. They're going to deliver. A type 6 like, no, kid, come on. They don't know how to fight. Again, it's pretty pathetic seeing the Democrats, especially the quote-unquote progressive lawmakers, try and wiggle their way out. If you're paying attention, you'll soon come to realize that it doesn't matter who controls the House or Senate or who sits in the White House. A lot of these politicians are nothing more than glorified errand boys and girls for the sycophants in Wall Street, the mad people controlling the banks, the corporations, the lobby groups. That's all what they are. Errand boys and girls. That's all what they are. Because these politicians, they don't like you. They don't think about you. They don't respect you. If they really wanted to fight for you, they would have done so already.